Hey everyone, Rarity Dash here. Time for another Patreon-sponsored blind reaction. And this one comes to you courtesy of Kevin Tigner, who has requested that I react to Bumbleby is Not Forced, and Here's Why by Xia Long. So yeah, I've been aware of this video basically since it first came out, because for one thing, I'm subscribed to Xia Long and have been for quite a while now, because I definitely enjoy their reaction videos. Yeah, I would really recommend. Definitely an interesting, fun reaction channel. They do reactions in cosplay sometimes, and they do like big group reactions for like the premieres and finales, I think. And they're Scottish, which means you got cool accents. So it's just a fun channel. Definitely would recommend it if you're looking for a good RWBY reaction channel. But yeah, as a result of being subscribed to them, a long-time subscriber, I had this in my subscriber feed when it came out. And I also had people telling me about it because, I mean, I'm a big Bumbleby fan, so naturally people are going to let me know when a Bumbleby video comes out that is apparently pretty good. But despite that, I never really thought to watch it. Partly because it's a rather long video, 47 minutes, and my attention span isn't always the best. But mostly because I didn't really feel like it had much to offer to me, just judging by the title, because I don't really need to be convinced that Bumbleby isn't forced. I mean, I'm the guy who made the video where I grabbed basically every moment from the first 4 volumes that could possibly be construed as supporting Bumbleby and just stuffed it into a single 14-minute video. So, yeah, I know that there's stuff to support it. I know that it's not a forced ship. And I just wasn't really interested in some kind of Bumblebee circle jerk, I guess. But that said, yeah, I'm actually down to watch this. I think it'll be pretty cool. It'll be interesting to hear how someone else argues for Bumbleby, because I only know how I chose to argue for it, which was basically just highlighting the individual moments and laying them all on the table and just letting people decide for themselves, which didn't always work. I mean, sometimes it did. I got quite a few comments from people saying, oh, I never noticed all this stuff. Maybe there's something to this after all. And yeah. But then, of course, I got a lot of other comments from people saying, this is all wrong. You're totally stretching. None of this means anything, which was fine. That was fine at the time. It was, I mean, just a question of interpretation, and it was easily just answered with, all right, well, we'll just see which way it goes. But now that we've had Volume 6 happen and we kind of got a better idea of which way it is going, it's a bit annoying when I still continue to hear that stuff. And it's kind of picked up, which is a weird thing. Just there's more people saying this is coming from nowhere, that it's forced. And it just kind of leaves you in a weird position. Like, yeah, people saying, oh, there's nothing to support it, and I can just go, well, what about all this stuff that I've been pointing at for the past several years now? And then it's like, oh, none of that means anything still, and the writers are just bringing this out of nowhere for some political agenda or whatnot. It's like weird. I don't know. It's a really frustrating spot for someone who's been arguing that this is a thing for a while. Yeah, I'm kind of at a loss. I don't really know how to argue it myself from here. I don't think there is any convincing a lot of these people. And that makes me kind of interested to see what sort of strategy Xia Long has for trying to do that. What is the argument here? I mean, it takes 47 minutes to get across, I guess, so definitely expecting something pretty in-depth, pretty thorough, and hopefully it'll be pretty interesting. So let's get started and find out. Here we go. Bumbleby is not forced, and here's why.
Okay, so how to start this long-ass video essay? I guess first let me lay out my biases, my credentials, and why I wanted to make this video. If you're here just to shit on Bumbleby, gays,
sure.
call me an SJW, and you can't actually compose a counter-argument, then
I'm sure there are a lot of those.
Don't exert yourself too much. So, who the hell am I to be talking about such an often heated topic Well, I'm an upper-class honorary graduate of film and television from university and work in digital content production full-time. For my final year dissertation, a year's worth of research, I examined LGBT representation in animation, with a particular focus on American television. Basically, any representation there's been, even the most subtle stuff in the 1950s when gays were a really big legal no-no, I've read about to some degree.
Okay.
I guess that makes me somewhat qualified to talk about this
Yeah,
subject.
more qualified than me.
Why am I doing this, you ask?
A little gay.
Well, if you haven't noticed, there hasn't exactly been a counter-narrative or alternative voice on Bumbleby in the show, especially here on lovely YouTube.
I should have made a video. I should have made another one.
My goal here really isn't to convince you, to convert you to waspism. But if you come away from this with a little more understanding and compassion, I guess.
I mean, I've thought about making like
speaking of bias,
video essays or whatever.
I just want to clarify from the outset of this video that bisexuals exist. I speak for myself on that one, as a gal that happens to swing both ways. Guess you could say I'm biased.
God damn it, Barb!
So, strap in. Damn, that's a perfect opportunity for a nice sexual lesbian joke I'm trying so hard to avoid. We're going to go through a lot of different talking points and topics in this video, and some of the videos and things I reference will be in the description should you want to check them out for yourself.
And nevermore.
Alright, so let's start way back at the beginning of RWBY. The original trailers told us bits and pieces about their characters. Nothing concrete, but enough of a springboard to tease the audience into wanting more in the show proper. Music also plays a big part in RWBY, and as far as I'm concerned, any piece of music that is featured in the show, not just on the soundtrack, is part of the show's canon, even if the story each song tells doesn't come to fruition for many years after it's featured. See Boop from the Volume 2 soundtrack. This
it's definitely based on
unfortunately
canon.
Takes Bumbleby
Can't
out
really
of the
call
show's canon-compliant songs. I love you, love Letter to a Bike, I truly do, you beautiful bastard, but you've got to take one for the team. So, back to the songs. Red Like Roses Part 1 from the Red trailer.
Gonna mention the Beauty and Beast thing. I mean, that's really the only reason to bring this song up. So. Burdened by a royal test. Yellow beauty.
Black the Beast, a fairly obvious reference to Blake and Beauty and the Beast. Blake fits both sides of that coin, with her faunus heritage and her similarities to Belle from the original tale, with her love of books and her surname, of course, Belladonna. Notice that, although Yang's character design takes influence from Goldilocks and the Three Bears, the first description we hear of Yang in the show's canon doesn't reference this at all, instead referring to her as Yellow Beauty.
It does have the
This
gold.
ties Blake and Yang's characters together from the get-go, with both of their characters alluding to the titular characters of Beauty and the Beast, both able to play either role. Neither are constrained to one or the other. Whilst Adam Taurus, represented by the symbol of the rose on his back, plays the part of the curse from the original.
That's what I've always
tale
said.
that
I've always
ultimately
argued
brings
that.
Beauty and the Beast together.
Yeah. Very complimenting designs.
Now let's look at character design. Costume and character design is everything in RWBY, and tells us a great deal about the characters through some lovely visual storytelling. For RWBY, we've got the obvious similarities to her mother's outfit, meant to visually indicate the similarities the two share to the audience, which of course turns out to be inherited silver eyes, as well as showing that RWBY holds Summer very close in her heart, despite being very young when she left her. For Weiss, the red in her collar presents a very obvious contrast against the white hues of the rest of her outfit, symbolic of her internal rebellion against her father, and Weiss's alignment with Nicholas Schnee, who also wore red around his neck. For
It's
Blake,
an interesting thought.
her
Never
outfit takes significant
never thought
influence
about
from
that.
the colours both of her parents wear. But what I really want to focus on with Blake and with Yang are their eyes. Yang's lilac eyes and Blake's amber eyes are visually pretty striking, with Blake having hues of purple in her outfit and Yang with golds and oranges. The biggest thing for me though is this very deliberate choice in eye colour. Their eyes match each other's aura colours almost perfectly.
Oh.
And
I never
as we know
noticed
from
that.
good old Pyrrha,
Aura is the manifestation of our soul. It bears our burdens.
That's
and
interesting.
shapes our hearts.
I always miss
this
color
is an
stuff.
especially interesting creative choice when we look at a very early bit of concept art for Blake, where she had heterochromic eyes, something that was likely changed later in the development of the show to add to Blake and Yang's visual matches. Alright, now that we've got the basics in and laid down, time to delve into the show proper to examine the relationship between Yang and Blake from volumes 1 to 6. In particular, I'll be looking at the use of romantic coding and how this parallels with other romantic pairings in the show.
Should be interesting.
Take all your fears away with the touch of my hand. I'll turn your life to.
So, with Volume 1, there's really not a whole lot to talk about in terms of Blake and Yang development.
There's
In
some.
fact, Yang doesn't really get much chance to shine in this volume at all.
That's true.
She's very much a bystander to what little plot there is in this volume, and lacks a lot of the depth Volume 2 will give her. We do hear her sympathies for the plight of the Faunus, and she does attempt to make a connection with Blake when the two first meet, to little avail. I guess we really can't talk about this scene without mentioning Yang's comments about the boys sharing the room with him for the night.
Yeah.
It's something I see commentators bring up an awful lot.
A lot. It
Dad
doesn't
would approve of all the boys.
doesn't
though.
necessarily mean
I know
anything.
I do.
It seems so fake just hearing it.
As I
But-
said before, Yang really didn't have much of a character in Volume 1, and this line often comes across to me as joking, a throwaway line rather than anything super serious. So throwaway a line it was, that the Japanese version of this episode removed it altogether.
Oh.
I mean, just look at the way she looks at Blake right after saying it.
That girl.
You know her?
I'm not saying that Yang doesn't have any romantic attraction to boys, she's perfectly welcome to, but arguing that this line, literally the only part of the show's canon that suggests she does, makes Yang Xia Long straight as an arrow is a big reach.
Yeah,
She
yeah.
could be bisexual, she could be a lesbian. Plenty of lesbian women have had relationships with men before coming to that conclusion.
Good point.
It honestly doesn't matter all that much to me, but to pretend that this 4-second clip puts the nail in the coffin of Yang being anything other than straight is pretty dang close-minded. Let's jump to the Emerald Forest arc of this volume.
Yeah, this is where
where
the
our pairings
most
on
stuff
each
is
team and the teams as a whole are brought together.
in Volume
For
1.
Weiss and Ruby, finding each other as partners is a complete accident. Ruby is
not
dying
for
to
Blake
be
and
in a
Yang,
team with
though.
Her sister,
Blake
still living in
chooses
Yang's
her.
shadow a little at this point in the show. And Weiss is desperate to be partnered with a high-class student like Pyrrha. Neither get what they want, but it's exactly the person they need in the end. With Blake and Yang, it's a little bit more deliberate, at least on Blake's part.
Yeah.
Blake seems to choose to partner with Yang. I don't believe that she went hunting through the Emerald Forest looking for her, but when she heard Yang nearby and saw her making some pretty easy work of some grim Ursa, Blake decides this is who she wants to partner with. Here's the director's commentary from this volume talking about this scene.
Oh.
The black character that runs by is actually Blake.
It is.
She is checking
You can
out
tell if
Yang
you-
and is like,
She's like, damn
good?"
girl, you hot.
This is a big deal for Blake's character. And the
Great
relationship
commentary.
going
I should
forward.
listen to the commentary
Blake
someday.
trusts Yang, a human, whether she knows why or not. This from a girl who isn't trusting of others at all. and
I've always wondered if
especially
it's
given
kind of
her
based on her
experiences with
first scene with
previous
Yang.
partner and fighting companion.
Like, because Yang has that line about this girl's a lost cause, so does she want to prove Yang wrong or
Hopping over to
something?
Volume 2, and we have a lot more moments between the
Or,
two, with the show generally being better for character development and moments out
she kind of
combat and cool fight scenes.
perks up
Yang
when
particularly
Yang
comes
mentions,
into her
or when
own,
Ruby mentions that Yang read to
revealing
her
a
too,
lot
so
more
maybe
depth
she
to
kind
her
of
character,
starts to
mainly
see a
through
bit
her
more
scenes with
depth.
Blake. This volume goes
And is
out of
intrigued.
its way to show how well Blake and Yang work as partners, and how the two appear to understand each other better than any other pair in the show. The dance arc is a perfect example of this.
Yeah.
Blake is being driven to the brink over her worry of what the White Fang is plotting. A good deal of this stemming from her guilt over her former alignment with the organisation, even when it became more extreme and violent. Ruby, Weiss, and Sun are all unable to bring Blake back down to Earth and take her off the self-destructive path she is on. Yang, however, is shown to be confident and self-assured in swaying Blake. She knows what makes Blake tick.
What does Blake think of all this? She's still being all, you know, Blakey?
Obviously. I still can't think of a way to change her mind.
Guys, trust me. Blake will be at the dance tomorrow.
Cue burning the candle. Blake and Yang have a heart-to-heart. Yang explains that she too has a mission.
This is where the
that drives
Bumblebee
her,
got real.
the search for her mother, and that said mission had put Ruby in danger in the past. She wants to help Blake in her mission too, but knows that Blake torturing herself will end in disastrous consequences. The information Yang shares here is highly personal, revealing deep-rooted abandonment issues, and appears to be something
It's the first
she
time we
hasn't
really see this
spoken
from
about
Yang.
openly before to anyone.
Yeah.
This again highlights the level of trust between the two, and of course, ultimately, Yang's advice and offer of a dance is enough to sway Blake.
Yeah.
And if you feel like coming out tomorrow,
Totally flirting.
I'll save you a dance.
Also, I really can't help but to point out setting with this particular scene. It's warm, intimate, and makes Yang look like some glowing goddess.
Yeah, there's a lot of that
Scene
with...
that truly sets up their dynamic
scenes with
going
them.
forward. Here's Monty talking about this particular
Oh.
scene.
This is great. We need to use this again somewhere down the line in a more extreme fashion.
Okay.
This volume, we see Yang and Blake being more open with each other and the team generally.
I love it when you're feisty.
All the people saying Monty would be against Bumblebee happening.
What will I... How can I undo so many years of hate?
Then there's this. This is like one of the big ones. This is from Blake's perspective.
From a challenge, Blake.
Yang's
It's
advice
deliberately
eventually
shot from
pays
her
off for Blake,
perspective,
who chooses
that
not
little
to end
scene.
Torchwick's life.
And it's
Instead,
such a
giving
glamour
her
shot.
beautiful kick to
And
the
just
side
the way
of head,
Barbara
she
says the
doesn't
line.
let her mission control her.
Just the choice of direction there.
I saw you at the rally. We're on the same side, and you know it. So what's it gonna be, Blake?
Basically, what Volume 2 shows us is that Blake and Yang make each other better as people. Though in this volume, it's Yang who does most of the heavy lifting in terms of support and advice.
And then Volume 3.
Okay, still with me, folks? We've got roads to go yet, but this volume is the biggie for Blake and Yang's relationship. This was where,
It's mostly
for
the
me and
second
for a
half
good
of the
deal
volume.
other people, the possibility of Bumblebee becoming canon in the future wasn't a completely ridiculous notion. The ending of Volume 3 ties Blake and Yang's character arcs together irrevocably. You all know what
Yeah,
I'm talking
yeah.
about here, and we'll get to that. But first it's important to examine the build-up to
There's a
that
little bit before that, yeah,
deciding
like the...
moment. So,
Wow.
Yang, having just broken Mercury's leg in front of a worldwide audience, a Mercury who was on the ground and down for the count. Of course, that's not really what happened, but that's exactly what the rest of Team Ruby, and importantly, Blake, saw. Weiss and Ruby are pretty quick to defend Yang. They're not sure what actually went down, but they don't think Yang would be capable of being so ruthless. Blake, on the other hand, is shown to be incredibly unsure, horrified even. Yang is reminding her of Adam.
Yeah, they're deliberately comparing Yang to Adam. Yeah, that face, that says it all. It's like the worst.
Blake?
You do have to also note that Blake is the only one who like gets up on her face, on her feet after the fight immediately ends.
Never lie to us.
She's so proud and happy.
I had someone very dear to me change. It wasn't in an instant, it was gradual. Little choices that began to pile up. He told me not to worry. At first they were accidents, then it was self-defense. Before long, even I began to think he was right. This is all just very familiar.
She voices this in the show, drawing direct parallels between the two. They are foils to each other. Adam, for all intents and purposes, was someone Blake was very close to in the past.
Yeah.
Blake goes out of her way to equate the level of care and
Aw,
trust
those
she has
cares.
for Yang as what she once had
Just the
for
fact
Adam.
that
and
this is
doesn't
able
want
to
see
get
her
Yang
fall down a dark path
to
like
that
he
level
did.
of emotion. Just that.
Yang is deeply upset that Blake doesn't believe
Yeah.
her. In fact, this is the first time in the show's canon that we see Yang shed a tear. That's how much Blake and Blake's trust in her means to Yang. Of course, in the end, Blake is able to see that Yang is being sincere in her innocence, that she isn't like Adam Taurus, and she never will be.
So, I want to trust you. I will trust you. But first, I need you to look me in the eyes and tell me that he attacked you. I need you to promise me that you regret having to do what you did.
She asks Yang to look her in the eyes to judge whether she is being truthful or not. A nice touch when you consider the fact that Adam spent most of his time wearing a mask that hid his eyes.
Yeah.
Especially on missions. Okay, with the build-up out of the way, let's look at the key moment during the fall of Beacon. Yang goes to find Blake, who has split from the rest of the team to chase down some members of the White Fang.
She went after an alpha. And some members of the White Fang.
Yang, knowing Blake's history and weakness when it comes to the White Fang, is probably very aware that Blake is going to end up getting herself killed left to her own devices. Cue Adam, stabbing Blake in order to make her scream to draw Yang towards them.
Yeah.
Huh?
He sees the look of horror on Blake's face, that this is someone Blake cares about deeply, perhaps as much as she once cared for him. Fun fact, although not so fun, this is the second time Yang cries in the show.
Yeah,
Again,
yeah.
over Blake. She throws
I think
herself
I
into the fray.
noticed
Adam
that.
uses moon slice on Yang, and Blake jumps to
Pointed out the
defend her in
tears
desperation.
in my video.
Again, Adam is enraged that Blake is willing to defend someone other than himself. A human at that. He tries to decapitate her on the spot in spite.
I'm pretty sure he doesn't think that's actually going to work.
Why must
But
you hurt me, Blake?
Adam threatens to hurt everyone that Blake loves, and he's able to assess just
Starting
from
with
how
her.
Blake looks at Yang that Blake loves Yang, whether she even realizes it herself. Blake, fearful of bringing more hurt and pain to her teammates, and Yang particularly, runs away, hoping that distancing herself from the rest of them will keep them safe from her past. Yang is shown to
This
be
scene.
incredibly hurt by Blake.
yeah, it's the thing.
After all,
More than
she
people
reveals her
dying,
issues with
more than
abandonment to Blake and Blake
the
only.
arm.
After we got to the city, she just ran.
But why?
I don't know.
Aww.
I don't care.
This scene.
There has to be a reason she...
No, there doesn't. Sometimes bad things just happen, Ruby.
And as Yang makes clear later in Volume 5, she doesn't blame Blake for what happened to her. She wants both of them to be there for each other. Maybe you can still frame all of this as platonic rather than romantic.
A lot of people will
particularly
try.
on Blake's side. But if we stripped all of this back, everything from Volume 1 to 3, and placed a male character in Yang's shoes, would we dismiss the romantic coding and connotations of these scenes so easily? I doubt it.
Yeah. Probably not. Not really too much to point out in Volume 4.
Alright, so Volume 4. Blake and Yang are separated now for the better
Yeah.
part of 2 volumes, and they get the chance to grow and heal away from each other. Yang starts her recovery from her trauma, learns how to fight smarter from her father, and Blake reconnects with her parents. Sun helps her to understand that sometimes the gal has to let her friends be there for her, even when she doesn't want them to be.
When your friends fight for you, it's because we want to. So stop pushing us out. That hurts more than anything the bad guys could ever do to us.
Note that even
Great
in
scene with
this
Sun.
volume, Blake's thoughts are shown to be on Yang. See this shot in the opening? And
Yeah.
anytime she brings up what happened at Beacon, it's Yang's name who causes her the most heartbreak.
Yeah,
Do you think I like being alone? Every day I think about them. Ruby, Weiss, Yang,
that voice break, the
they were my friends.
little quiver there.
I love them like I never thought I could love anybody. And I hope they hate me for leaving.
Yang's really dealing with her own shit this volume. But it's pretty interesting that one of the first shots we see of Yang, she is looking mournfully at a pile of books.
Yeah.
It's a small visual detail, I know, but it seems very deliberate to me.
Worth
Another
mentioning for me
rather
too.
minor, but no doubt deliberate choice was to have Yang and Blake both ride on the same boat at different points in the volume. Said boat is named Pride. Melvin Perry really being subtle with that one, but I see you. Couldn't have called the boat Boaty McBoatface?
Wow.
You had to call it something that invoked LGBT pride?
I don't think I was able to mention that one. I thought about it, but it was like a bit too meta for me. Be united.
Alright, here we go, boys. Volume 5. Time to reunite those bees. This volume sees Yang and Blake confront a whole heap of past trauma, and ultimately come out stronger for it. Narratively, Volume 5 was a bit of a mess. However, it allowed Yang to confront Raven, the woman
still
who had
pretty
banned her
good, though.
multiple times, despite, you know, being her mother, and Blake learning to forgive herself and forgive Elia, ultimately setting up a path to bring the fractured White Fang and the Faunus, those who want to work towards equality and peace at least, back from the brink. Yang's feelings for Blake become far more apparent this volume, especially during her heart-to-heart with Weiss.
Yeah.
I mean, look at her petting Blake's side of this picture.
Yeah! This is really telling. Just the picture petting.
Yang is clearly still deeply upset that
And even the way that
Blake
she
left
cradles
under
the picture
circumstances
towards her
she did.
when
But ultimately,
Weiss comes
her
in.
sadness seems to be coming from a place of frustration. Frustration that Blake had chose to run again, hadn't given Yang the chance to try and make her stay, to reassure her that what happened during the fall wasn't Blake's fault.
She doesn't have to be alone, though. I was here for her. We all were. She chose to leave us. No one blamed her for anything. If she had just talked to us, she would have known that. How could I be there for her if she doesn't let me?
Oh.
What if I needed her here for me?
I'm not even sure Yang knows at this point how deeply her feelings run. She's so torn up by Blake's leaving still, and hasn't seen the girl in almost a year. It's a lot easier to be mad at someone that you don't have to look in the eye. The song All That Matters on the Volume 5 soundtrack gives us a pretty good insight into Yang's internalized emotions.
Yeah! Such a heartbreaking song.
It's clear that Yang would absolutely not feel so
And a great
heartbroken
one.
about Ruby or Weiss leaving
One of my
her in the
favorites.
manner that Blake did. The bond she has with the rest of her teammates is not the same as the one as she has for Blake. The episode that features this emotionally charged talk between Yang and Weiss also happens to be in the episode which Elia is revealed as Ruby's first LGBT character in the show's canon. Which I really don't think was an accident on the writer's part.
No.
The stuff between Blake and Yang may have been narratively more subtle in volumes 4 and 5. The fact that the characters basically didn't see each other during that time helped with that, but the hints and clues are still there, if you know where to look. Of course, we can't gloss over their reunion. Blake stepping into a room full of people she knew and hadn't seen in a long-ass time, scanning the room and singling out Yang, confirmed to me that Blake's thoughts whilst she was home had always been drifting across the ocean to Vale and to Patch.
There she is.
Yang?
And just look at Yang's face. This is the face of a girl who really doesn't know what the hell to think. She's been mad at Blake for a while, extremely conflicted in how she feels, and now the girl is standing in front of her, looking like that, and she really doesn't know what to do, or say, or how to feel. This volume ends with Team Ruby sharing a group hug, and Yang appears to offer forgiveness, but this was more than likely to appease Ruby and Weiss than because she trusted Blake to stick around again.
I'm not going anywhere.
That's all that matters. That we're all here together. Right?
You lost, you found, your heart to pin down.
I mean, that seems pretty earnest. I think there's a bit of acceptance there. I mean, maybe not trust, but I mean, it's kind of the point of the song. She realizes this is what matters. Just having her there. Things get gayer.
This is where stuff
Great
with Blake
subtitle.
and Yang gets a lot less subtle and build up.
Yeah, yeah.
Massively helped by the fact that the two, are in each other's company again after 2 volumes. Basically, their character arcs in Volume 6 is about rebuilding their trust and friendship. Blake goes absolutely out of her way to help Yang, defend her,
Just
and
stares at her
genuinely
constantly.
keep a watchful eye. She's very loud and hyper aware of Yang at all times. Yang tries to reassure Blake that things are okay between them, but Blake isn't convinced, leading to their argument in the barn. Blake, who even from the earliest points in the show is someone ridden with guilt over her past and her mistakes, wants to make it up to Yang desperately, vowing to stay by her side, which goes down pretty well with Yang. That's all she really wants. Look how soft these eyes are.
Yeah.
Unlike everyone else in the show, Blake treats Yang's arm like it's a natural part of her. Not a weapon or something to marvel at, it's Yang's arm, hand and fingers as far as she's concerned. But then Blake also vows to protect Yang against Adam. Not because she sees Yang as weak or incapable of defending herself, but because she failed to protect Yang from Adam in the past, and wants to make sure she is there for her this time, to take Yang's pain. This particular vow is a big mistake on Blake's part and leads to Yang storming out. Yang wants an equal partnership. She doesn't want Blake dying for her or getting hurt for her. Whatever they face, she wants them to face it on equal terms, which, at this point, Blake doesn't get. Cue Blake and Yang riding to the relay tower to shut it down. The two of them, at this moment in time, seem to get along best when they have a mission to focus on. It likely reminds them of easier times back at Beacon before the shared trauma Adam inflicted on them at the end of Volume 3. We see that in the train fight at the start of this volume, and now. This whole exchange really speaks for itself. Blake and Yang have some playful banter, are that sort of giddy nervous around each other that makes you want to die a little, but also warms your heart.
You sure I shouldn't come with?
More intruders means we're more likely to be seen. Besides, stealth isn't exactly your, I mean, you're great, and I'll hurry back.
Go.
This look. That look. That's like the best.
Heading in on foot? Won't be long.
And just look at the way the two
That one's
look
pretty
at
good
each
too.
other.
Yeah, yeah.
This is so soft. Literally the only other characters we see look at each other like this in the show are Ren and Nora. They can't help themselves when things are going okay around them.
Dijon.
But then of course things don't go so okay. Adam, who has long been an established foil to Yang, and the source of most of Blake and Yang's pain, enters the fray, intent to end Blake's life once and for all. Not that he won't toy with her before that. Yang, with what is easily the best entrance of the series, literally crashes into the scene to smack Adam with the humble Bumblebike. You know how most of the fight goes? Adam is shown multiple times to be jealous of how close Blake and Yang are. He sees in them the same emotions he saw all over Blake's face during the fall of Beacon, and it makes him furious.
Love this fight.
Blake vows again, this time learning from her mistake at the barn. Their partnership is an equal one. Neither of them are weaker or more worthy of protection than the other. They are a unified force.
She's not protecting me, Adam. And I'm not protecting her. We're protecting each other.
This obviously strikes a chord with Yang. It's exactly what she wanted and needed to hear from Blake. Not only that, but Blake is stubborn. She won't die a noble death protecting Yang from Adam. She wants to fight this together, so that they can have some kind of life together afterwards.
I don't have a choice. I have people who actually care about me. And I promised I'd never leave them again. So I'm not dying now.
Yang also highly approves of this. Blake isn't going to leave her ever again. Also, Ruby makes a big thing out of romantic pairings holding hands.
Yeah.
Just look at Arcos and Renora. And look how many times Blake and Yang have held hands this volume. I think this fight is where Yang really gets the measure of who Adam is as a person too. She probably had an idea from the way Blake spoke about him at Beacon, and how casually he went about stabbing Blake during Beacon's fall, but especially how he speaks to her and about her during this fight. calling her a coward, insinuating her betrayal, his possessiveness, and his jealous nature around Blake.
Yeah.
She puts the pieces together and finally understands why Blake left after the fall. This guy. The two of them defeat Adam together, with Blake breaking down afterwards, terrified that Yang might have taken Adam's words to heart, that Blake would break her promise. Yang knows now that Blake really is ride or die for her. Also, look at the way this whole scene is framed. It's intimate. Again, there's no background score. The emotions of the characters, the strength of feeling between the two, carries the weight of the scene. Anytime we've seen Yang hold someone else, it's never been like this. This is a deeply personal moment and romantically charged in how it's animated, made to be deliberately different from how she's held anyone else before. In the finale, we get a few great moments too.
Yeah.
Yang reassuring Blake,
More hand-holding.
this cute little handhold over Blake's thigh, which again is a level of intimate interaction Yang and Blake simply don't have with other characters. And of course, this knowing look between Ruby and Yang. Yang looks away with so much love in her eyes that she looks in danger of imploding from gay feelings and all that. I can relate too hard to that feeling. Now that we've reached the end of this section, yes, this video is fucking long, sorry not sorry, let's look at another interesting creative choice with the writers. So with Renora, who are all but confirmed at this point, the narrative device that brought them together properly was taking down the Avi Grimm, a source of shared trauma from their past, with the episode ending in a cute as hell handhold on an airship, looking at each other.
Pretty much the same thing.
Oh look, Bumbleby got the exact same treatment. I wonder if that's supposed to be a romantic parallel. Spoiler, it is.
Oh, Black Sun. Okay, well this will be interesting.
So I can't really do a video essay about Bumbleby without talking about Black Sun. Back at the beginning of RWBY, I do think that Black Sun was a viable romantic choice for Blake, but I really don't think that Black Sun was ever meant to be endgame. It's a cute pairing, and I absolutely adore Sun as characters go, and can understand why people enjoy the idea of him and Blake getting together. However, with what we're presented with in the show, I do think that Bumbleby has more potential narrative merit and emotional weight in upcoming volumes, outside of what it could do for LGBT representation. I do honestly believe that Blake had a crush on Sun, likely during volumes 1 to 3, but that her feelings never ran deeper.
That's pretty hard to
especially
deny.
After the traumatic events at the end of volume 3. Sun, my poor monkey boy, definitely had deeper feelings for Blake. But post volume 3, he never tried to push those feelings onto her, instead understanding that Blake was in a vulnerable state of mind at that time, and what she really needed was a friend she could rely on. Blake and Sun, dynamic-wise, actually works best in Volume 5, when I felt the writers tried to make things a little more platonic between the two of them. Listen, just because the two spent Volumes 4 and 5 together doesn't mean that the two were meant to be together romantically. The fact that nothing explicitly romantic happened between the two in all of that time is telling that romantic Black Sun was not the plan. If it had been, Sun would have went after Blake and confronted Adam in the Volume 3 finale. Not Yang.
Yeah.
He was there with the rest of them, and easily could have been the one to go and find Blake instead. But he wasn't, and that's important.
Yeah, he's right there when
everything that happens afterwards ties
Yang
and Blake's narratives together.
When Weiss tells
regardless
where
of
Blake
the distance
went.
between them.
I never even thought about
their
that, but that's a good
relationship
point.
between Blake and Sun was
He's
pretty rocky.
not injured, he's
and
fine,
hard to watch
and he
at
doesn't go
times.
after her.
Blake was really not happy that Sun had followed her for a long time without revealing himself, and Sun misunderstood Blake's intentions for leaving too, believing she was on a mission of revenge against the White Fang. They are both shown multiple times in this volume to not totally understand each other.
Whoa.
Sun!
Jeez.
Have you been following me?
The moment you left, I knew exactly what you were doing. You're going on a one-woman rampage against the White Fang!
What?
Sun?
Whoa! This isn't the bathroom! I'll just be going. Sorry to interrupt this tender family moment.
Sun doesn't understand Blake's need for privacy and space, and Blake reacts in aggression, something I really wasn't happy with, and sort of put me off the idea of them being together completely.
No concept of privacy, no respect for personal space.
The slaps.
I'm sorry, okay? Ow! I'm sorry! Look, I promise it was important. I needed to find you to talk to you.
What, son? What could be so important?
I was talking to your mom and she said something weird about the White Fang.
I'm stopping you right there.
But
I told you. I'm not here to fight the White Fang. I'm not here to fight anyone. I'm here to rest, to figure things out, and to see my family.
That was uncomfortable to watch, and I think it was supposed to be a big red flag that they wouldn't work romantically. Sun has also been pretty interestingly framed in regards to Yang. In Volume 2, he didn't know how to convince Blake to come to the dance and get through to her, but Yang did. Yang was able to get through to Blake when no one else could. At the end of Volume 3, the framing of this scene, with Sun looking over Blake and Yang holding hands on the ground, I feel was also very important going forward. Sun knows what Yang did, sacrificed for Blake, that she cares just as much as he does.
He brings that up in Volume 4.
Sun is also the one to bring up Yang the most post-Volume 3.
Yeah, he...
Understanding the importance of
like, I know the argument she's going to make.
Recovery. After he is injured by Alia, Sun is quick to compare his level of commitment to Blake as to Yang's, knowing that Yang wouldn't want Blake to feel guilt for what happened to her, but rather would be upset that Blake hadn't let her in the first place.
No more. They're better off without me. I made my choices and I'll deal with the consequences because they belong to me.
You think you're being selfless, but you're not. Yeah. That chameleon friend of yours got me pretty good. But I'd do it all again if it meant protecting you. And I can promise Yang would say the same. You can make your own choices, sure. But you don't get to make ours.
He's also the one to make sure that Blake walks over to her teammates when she's hesitant. He knows where she belongs and what will make her truly happy. It's something he reiterates at the start of Volume 6.
I had a lot of fun. But you're with who you're supposed to be now.
It was never about that, Brainiac. Basically, Sun is best boy, who just wants Blake to be happy and knows she's in safe hands with Yang. If you think Sun is going to be jealous if the next time he sees Blake and Yang they are together romantically, you're doing a big disservice to Sun's character. He's selfless. Honestly, all I want for Sun is for him to find a cute warrior gal with less emotional baggage and evil exes, and go and spread some positive vibes around Remnant.
I go where I'm needed.
Okay. Drama.
Okay, so things are going to get a little bit more toxic now. I want this video to be as comprehensive as possible.
You're doing a pretty good job so far.
About this shit too. Attacking and harassing members of the Ruby writing team and cast because you're not happy with the direction the show has gone in, one that has been foreshadowed from early volumes, is unacceptable. Just stop or leave. It doesn't reflect well on you and won't change anything. Tossing around Monty's name as though you had any insight into where he actually wanted the show to go, especially spitting poisonous rhetoric that Monty was stung by bees, that his friends are betraying his vision, is just plain wrong. Maybe Bumbleby was planned before Volume 1 even aired. There's plenty in the show.
Yeah, that's pretty messed up.
It might have been. Maybe it wasn't. We'll find out eventually. But it really doesn't matter. I'm not going to pretend I speak for Monty. I don't. But here's the man himself talking about queer representation in Ruby.
Asking if there will be any queer characters in Ruby.
Sure, absolutely. The best part about that is, you know, maybe they're there now because they're kids. So we're on a path to try to help them discover themselves. So we don't even need to make that decision right away because as we write these characters, we learn about them and kind of help them figure themselves out. And they're very real to us. We're definitely not opposed to it. A lot of us are for it. Even like I have some cast members and some crew members who are like, this would be really cool. But the thing is, we can't just shove it out there. It has to be earned, which is the better way to do it. And a lot of these characters, we try to look at them outside of their gender, so we just want to do what's natural for them at best.
Good romance is earned. Want to know why they didn't make Bumbleby canon after Volume 2 and be done with it? Because it wasn't earned yet. Blake and Yang still had a lot of growing to do as people. I wouldn't even say Bumblebee is canon now. I'd say it's on a very clear path. Canon, likely at some
I would
point
agree.
In Volume 7. Regardless, the development is there. The foreshadowing is there. It just needs a little bit more build up, which I'm sure Volume 7 will deliver. None of this is out of the blue. You just have to be open and perceptive to the possibility, I suppose, to have noticed and seen the smaller moments. Some of us have the advantage of having been in same-sex relationships and can recognise things in the dynamic between Blake and Yang throughout all 6 volumes, which blur the line between platonic and romantic. Just look at the difference in reaction between Renora and Arco's development and recent stuff with Bumbleby. Why all the hate? It's hypocritical when all of these pairings have had just as much on-screen development as each other. Renora
Pretty
and
much.
Bumbleby having more than Arcos in reality, because, well,
I mean,
that shit was slightly hindered.
Yeah.
Heteronormativity exists.
Kind of got cut off
It's a plain
there
old fact that I've been
a bit.
guilty of myself in the past. It's harder for queer pairings to reach the height of canon for a multitude of reasons, like restrictions from the network that produces the show. I mean, just
Well,
look
that's not
at
really a
Marcy
problem
and
with Rooster
Bubblegum
Teeth.
from Adventure Time. The show
Great
for
ship.
years and years had been going out of its way to imply that things between the two were far more than platonic, but
Mhm.
Cartoon Network airing the show in countries much less accepting of LGBT people was always a blockade to explicit canonization until the show's last episode.
Yeah, then they just go for it.
Heterosexuality is
I mean, it's
the
over
norm,
anyway,
the
so
default.
why not?
Interactions between male and female characters, especially with the level of intimacy and emotional weight that has been given to Blake and Yang's relationship, would no doubt be read as romantic. Because for the most part, that's what all of us have ever really known or expected from our entertainment. Heterosexual couples make up the vast majority of pairings on TV, and maybe that's a reflection of reality. Stats on queerness can vary pretty wildly from place to place and generation to generation. Thing is, Ruby is a fantasy program. It doesn't have to be a reflection of our world to still
Very
be
true.
relatable. It doesn't have to be constrained in its storytelling by real world stats. Besides, it's not like there would be a lack of balance between gay and straight pairings in the show, even if Blake and Yang got together. The only other couple we have is Saffron and Terra, two side characters that will likely not show up again in the show for several volumes.
If at all. Yeah.
If
Wow.
Blake and Yang's story helps 500 people come to terms with their sexuality, or at least gives them something to hold on to, which it has, and no doubt will continue to do in the future, then what is the real problem here? Starting petitions, calling for voice actors to lose their jobs, and generally being disrespectful to fans of the show and of the pairing is really not necessary, and again just makes you look
Wow.
a little pathetic.
Yeah, people suck sometimes. Narrative potential.
Okay, we're nearly at the end. To finish this video off, I thought I would explain why I think Bumbleby will be beneficial to the narrative of the show and the storytelling going forward. Because I guess some people don't think Yang and Blake can be together unless they bring X, Y, and Z to the show's plot. So for the team dynamic, a hot topic issue I've seen plenty of people speak about, that Bumbleby would ruin the dynamic of Team Ruby.
Nah.
I've got to disagree with you there. What dynamic within Team Ruby has always been the weak link? Easy answer there. Blake and Ruby. The two haven't really interacted since Volume 1.
Never talk.
Although they did have some nice exchanges and moments in Volume 6, which gives me hope going forward the writers are very aware of this.
I'm
and
pretty
plan
sure they
to
are.
strengthen
They
the
would have to
bond.
be.
And what better way for some quality Blake and Ruby interaction than Blake going to Ruby for advice about Yang when she has doubts? The two of them laughing and joking about some embarrassing story from Yang's childhood, Ruby treating Blake like another sister, and being happy that Yang, the person who has consistently put others before herself, has someone else that loves her to watch out for her, and makes her happy. Weiss, I'm sure, will have a lot on her plate with the Atlas plot.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it be nice for her to inform and teach Blake and Yang about human faunus relationships in Atlas? I don't think Atlas society will be very accepting of such things, and it will be a cool, although probably quite painful, narrative to explore, with Yang experiencing and seeing the discrimination that Blake and other faunus have faced. We all want the writers to show us more discrimination and oppression for the faunus. So here's a good opportunity.
Which is kind of a weird
There's
thing when
also
you just say
something
it
poetic
outright.
and
We
narratively
want more
satisfying
discrimination.
about Blake leading the way for the new White Fang, and embracing and working with humanity by being in a romantic relationship with a human. Just saying. And finally, just for the heck of it, I want to address the also talked about hand-holding and running scene from the Apathy arc. People have argued that this shows that Blake and Yang's dynamic will ruin the team and make them selfish. Number one, you don't just decide to ignore everyone else in your life when you have a significant other. And that's not what happens in this scene. Not when you examine the context. Yang has always believed in Ruby as a capable leader. She just saw her sister wipe out the Apathy twice. Weiss is also very obviously in control at this moment in time. It's quite clear that both of them have the situation with Crow under control and will join the others soon. Thing is, Blake, who easily had the biggest fright of the whole group, being
she was the closest
her guts blended by one of these gross claws, and being aware of it the whole time, is standing motionless after being helped upstairs. She's in shock, I believe. Mild shock, but shock nonetheless. I mean, can you imagine the look of sheer terror Ruby was giving her at this moment? Blake's shock and paralysis is a hindrance on Weiss and Ruby. And so, Yang, noticing this, grabs her hand to bring her back to goddamn reality and out of her haze, and runs outside with her, knowing that this is more helpful than leaving Blake standing and getting in the other's way, endangering the rest of the group. I don't doubt for a minute that had Ruby, Crow and Weiss had not exited a few seconds afterwards, that Yang wouldn't be back in there in a heartbeat to check they were okay. Ruby and Weiss are not incapable of handling themselves, and Yang knows this. She's known it for a very long time.
Till I just burned down the booth. Human Torch can't fuck with me. Johnny Blaze, suspect B. Strike him quick, lightning fast. Melt them bitches down to ash.
Well, congrats lads. You made it to the end. Whatever you take from this video, just don't be an asshole.
I don't think I could take much, honestly. I mean, there were a few things I mean,
in the future.
But like weird things, like the eye thing.
On Patreon for helping
the eye aura
channel,
thing.
And to vote on this topic as my next video essay. Also, big props to Hammer Time for proofreading some of the script for me.
Cool.
I really appreciate it. Make sure to check out my lovely socials below.
Nice. Scottish
We've got
Yang.
Twitter now, how goddamn advanced. And make sure to leave a comment giving your thoughts. See you on the flip side.
All right, well there we go. That was really good. I mean, as said, I don't think I really have much takeaway beyond a few things, but I don't know if this is quite. I mean, I'm already. I kind of knew where her argument was going because I mean I already know the arguments to make here. I think I'm not quite as articulate. I don't think I have the patience to get them across as the thing. So I kind of have to give it to her there for making this long video essay, just laying it all out there and just step by step going through it in such a concise and thorough way, and just hitting on all the points, and it was a really impressive video from that standpoint, just from being a very good argumentative video, and I don't think it really missed that much. I mean, there are little Bumbleby moments here and there that you could probably reference, but like they're not really that important. They're not like very story heavy ones. So yeah, just like little moments where they interact a little bit. It really went through the whole relationship very well and explained it. I could see this being convincing for a lot of people. Maybe not everyone. I think some of these people are just too far convinced of their own opinion already to have this have any effect on them. But for people who are willing to actually look at what is there and consider it, I think this could be a very just invaluable video, and I'm glad that it exists. I mean, it's better than anything I could do. I mean, I've thought about, as I said, I thought about doing video essays like this before. I don't think I could ever make anything 47 minutes. Just I don't think I could talk that long about a single subject. But I've considered just trying to get my thoughts out there on some things, but I don't think I could be so comprehensive with it. And this was really good, and I mean, she presented it well, and it helps that accent. I don't know. I like accents, so that's just makes it all the more fun to listen to, I guess. I don't know. But, yeah, it was entertaining. It was more entertaining than I thought it would be. Which, I mean, I knew it would be good, but just considering I already agree and don't need to be convinced of anything, I just was worried that I wouldn't really have much fun with it. I would there wouldn't really be much for me to say about it. But it was actually a pretty fun time, and I actually am glad. Well, I'm glad that I didn't watch it before this, because this way I was able to react to it for you guys, and that I think is better than if I had chosen to watch this on my own time. Because I think this actually made for a pretty decent reaction, hopefully. So I guess I'll let you guys be the judge of that. Yeah. Not really anything else to say. Hope you enjoyed the reaction. Let me know if you did, and see you in the next one.